Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Discussing Trek book club. What are we calling this, John? Book club?
Beta-ture. No.
The what?
Beta-ture, like the beta version of Trek literature. Beta-ture.
Oh my God. That's highly complicated and probably not good for SEO. So
Technobabble, man. Technobabble.
the combing memory alpha is what we'll call it.
Okay.
No, but guys, we are here to talk about the autobiography of Benjamin Sisko, this book that we recently got off of Amazon, a recent Star Trek book covering, of course, the great Captain Sisko, edited by Derek Tyler Attico, which I think edited. That might be a play on the theme of the book, but he wrote it. So let's just go with that right there. But
before we go into it any further, first I want to say on the very back, there's a quote from Benjamin Sisko that I love. It is the unknown that defines our existence. We are constantly searching, not just for answers to our questions, but for new questions. We are explorers. So that kind of goes to the point. I know we talk a lot about these new series, and y'all have since I hadn't been on, but you know, when I do talk, I say, man, it's just not that Trek that I'm used to. Mm-hmm. And when I read that quote, that's kind of what it made me think about. Like the Trek I'm used to, that seems like that was at the core of the show. Like that was what they were trying to come through with. So anyway, I just thought I'll point that out. Like to me, that's what Trek was for me.
You don't feel like we capture some of that in the newest seasons of Discovery and even Strange New Worlds?
Strange New Worlds for sure, which is why I have raved about it and I love it so much. Discovery, yes, but it became a footnote more than a guide. I don't know if that makes sense. Now, I get why. I mean, Discovery is it's great entertainment. It's great to watch. It's glued to your seat, anticipation, action, romance, all of the above. It's great TV. It's great media. But as far as that quote's concerned, I don't feel it as much in Discovery or even Picard. Like we get too deep into certain stories, you know, and we lose track of that. Strange New Worlds is more on that. And I know we're all the way off track of this book, but anyway.
No. I mean, I think it's a byproduct of the serialized storytelling, maybe to that extreme in the newer shows. So I definitely get that.
Yeah.
So with this book club, again, we're workshopping the name of this, but we're going to try to cover a few chapters each time we jump on the mic and talk about them and see what nuggets we can pull from this book. And today we're going to talk about the introduction or the foreword, and we're going to talk about the chapters 1 and 2. I want to start by maybe getting into some of the framing of the book. Because, of course, this book says the autobiography of Benjamin Sisko. And there's been other versions of these with different captains, which I have not read. So if you have read those, please chime in and let us know about them. But this is supposed to be told by Benjamin through Jake. There's a framing device in this book that I really loved how they set this up.
Yeah.
So it pretty much takes off a year from the last episode, from what we leave behind, the last time we see Captain Sisko as he enters the wormhole and he is lost henceforth. This sheds some light on what happens after that. Mm-hmm. So that is a framing device, and knowing that Sisko isn't gone. How did you feel about that? Reading about it in this book versus seeing it on the screen somewhere.
You know, to me, it gives me DS9, as you know, is my favorite of all the series. It gives you kind of a peace about it, you know? We spend a lot of time DS9 fans, you know, we'll see a small hint online that maybe possibly we'll get Avery Brooks back in something. We'll get the return of Sisko, which we all know for pretty much certain that's not going to happen.
Yeah,
but
not likely.
Yeah, but this kind of gives you that, right? And it's not really continuing the DS9 story, but it is continuing the story I think a lot of people care to know more about. Like, not to take anything away from the other characters, but really, all I was interested in was the Sisko story afterwards. And I mean, we have to know he's not gone, right? I mean, we have to know he's not gone. So I think it just kind of bookends that. Now, of course, we hadn't got to the end of this, so we don't know where this is leading up to just yet. But just the fact that we still have Sisko with us was a shocker to me. And not shocker, but it's just glad to get more details about that.
Yeah, and to get into maybe a little bit specifics of how this introduction is framed, a year later on the anniversary of Sisko leaving, the wormhole opens. There's this energy beam comes through that seems to appear as a blast, but actually it's a data transfer. And what it leaves behind is Sisko giving stories of his life to Jake to tell his story to Jake. Things that he hasn't told Jake. And it seems as if later on in the book, he's going to address Cassidy and maybe some more people, but it starts off with Jake. He says he wants to address Jake first.
Right.
And I just find the whole framing of that pretty interesting.
And before you go past that, I was curious your thoughts of kind of the scene setting in that opening scene. Like, so, I'm thinking Lieutenant Nog, we know that he eventually becomes a captain at some point, but like, where did his progression go from the end of DS9 on through? And he remains, because, again, I said the rest of the characters may not be as important, but it is good to kind of get a glimpse of what's going on. So do you think he's kind of the Kira Nerys of DS9 now, since Kira is commander of the station?
I don't know if anybody could take her place, because even, going back, I started to watch some of the last season of Deep Space Nine when Kira did take over, and especially in the first episode when Sisko goes back home. It still seemed like she was still kind of playing that role, even though she was in command.
Yeah.
But it is interesting to see Nog move up the ranks, and it made me try to go back to remember where everyone was at the end of What We Leave Behind, because there's no mention of O'Brien. There's a different engineer,
right, and a Bajoran engineer.
Yes. So yeah, and we get mention of the baseball. So how they framed this whole thing, it took me right back. And for each of these chapters, I think I'm gonna give recommended viewing. Of course, the recommended viewing for this one is What We Leave Behind. So the last episode of the series, you should go back and watch it for this particular setup here. But I loved it. I think every note the author, Jake, not really Jake, but Jake put in this introduction here, it felt like I was watching the show.
Yeah.
It felt like on screen. All the cues that you would expect in a sequence like this were there. So it took me right back. So I was there, and it made me want to go back and start watching Deep Space Nine, honestly.
And how did, I don't know, maybe you didn't get this. I kind of got a weird, my brain, you just mentioned about, this is how this is written, kind of the autobiography told by Jake, really, but told by Sisko through the video of Jake. Yeah. But then you put all of that together and then have to realize there's actually somebody that has written this. So, like, to me, reading through this sometimes, a couple of times, I kind of said, okay, because Jake mentions certain parts, like in this book, but he's not talking about this book. He's talking about the book he's writing.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Or am I just, is this one of them timey-wimey things that I get lost in?
Oh, talk about this whole story. I know you hate time stuff, but this whole story is timey-wimey. Is Sisko in a wormhole, which has no concept of time,
right,
sending us video messages chronicling his life from the very beginning. It's very Inception-esque here.
And there's a specific part, and forgive me for jumping ahead, but it's a specific part where, we know that there's a new chief engineer. It's not O'Brien anymore. Kira is there. Nog is a lieutenant, right? Yep. Like Jake is full-blown author now. Yeah. They've had a time to install a dedicated permanent communications array through the wormhole. So there's some time has gone by, but there's a specific part that Benjamin mentions that it's only been a couple of minutes.
Yeah, to him.
that he's sending this to Jake. And I know Jake mentions a time, I don't remember how long it's been. It was a 1 year anniversary, matter of fact. So it's been a year, which has been a couple of minutes in Sisko's perspective. That's crazy. How do you process that? And what kind of mind would it take to think, how do you think, I've only been here 3 minutes, but I need to record my life story and send to my son?
And I have to think we're going to see, it may not be Avery Brooks, but we're going to see Sisko again someday.
You think?
Yeah, they may make an excuse to make him look different or just choose a different actor. But I think at some point in the future, we have to, man, right? They can't just leave this.
Okay. Yes. But if it's not Avery, I don't think so. Like, he really did make Sisko, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's the same thing as, I don't think you could replace Picard with anybody.
No.
Right?
So you're probably right about that.
The actor made that part, and especially Ben Sisko's character. Like, I don't know about the strength, the calm, Avery Brooks is Sisko. I don't think they can redo it. But it would still be great to see a continuing story on TV, on screen of the Sisko story.
Man, pay this man some money. I want to see him back, man. You just have to. He's too amazing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but this setup I just think is really freaking cool. And Jake goes on to, in this introduction, to talk about the whole event when the war ended. He went into the wormhole. They called it they call the return when he beams back to send information. They call it the Sisko event. Yeah. And it goes back into this thing that we kind of get in the show itself, of where, you have these people who follow the pirates, and you have people who think Sisko is emissary. So you have all these different factions who are vying for a piece of Sisko, and Jake being one of them. So I find the way they kind of explain that in this book to be really cool. And I'll just read here. The Bajoran people want to preserve the sanctity and deeds of the emissary. The cult of the pirates want to defile everything the emissary stood for. Starfleet wants their captain back. Me, I just want to see my father. And the truth is, no one will get what they want. So good, man. So freaking good.
So, man, I just, like, Jake, you're a great author. But not really. Whoever wrote this book is a great author.
Derek Tyler Attico. Great.
Yeah. But mind you, it says edited by him, not written by him.
Because Jake wrote it.
Because Jake wrote it.
Because it's the autobiography. Inception, guys. Inception. It hurts my brain. But man, such a good line there, man. I just think it's the greatest. And I don't know if I knew his middle name was Lafayette. Did you know that?
Do you remember his dad used to fuss at him, especially when he tried to make him take the test to see if he was a changeling? And he cut himself on the cutting board, and Sisko was looking at him like, is it going to change? He was like, Benjamin Lafayette Sisko.
I remember that. That's a hell of a name, dude.
Hey, will you call me by my government name like that? You serious?
When your parents call you a whole name out?
A whole name.
You in trouble.
Especially when the middle name is Lafayette. Like they're going to enunciate that loudly.
Oh, my God. So anything else about the forward or the introduction that you want to point out before we kind of move on a little bit?
I mean, I'm sure we could spend a lot of time in this, but I mean, let's move on. I think if to our listeners out there, get it and read it. Because we can talk till we're blue in our face, and you won't really get the full greatness of what we've read so far.
Yeah. And we're definitely workshopping this show to see how we're going to review. I've personally never done book reviews in podcast form before. So your input, thoughts on how the format should be, or if we're doing a good job, would definitely be welcome. So we'd appreciate all that.
Absolutely.
Let's get into chapter 1, which is actually titled What We Leave Behind. But my recommended viewing for chapter 1 is going to be The Visitor. And this is basically what is talked about by Sisko in this chapter 1. It's short. It's only about 2 pages. But he kind of expresses to Jake how he wants him to move on. and not be bogged down by what has happened to him, because he's seen it happen before.
Yes.
Going back to the episode The Visitor, where there's an accident and he's tethered to Jake, and Jake, his whole life, is trying to bring Benjamin back.
Yeah.
And he's lived that. He retained that memory. He's like, look, I don't want to see you go through that again. I've seen it. I want you to live on with your life, find love, and do all the things you want to do as a writer, but don't let me being gone kind of weigh you down. How did you feel about that very short chapter?
I 100% agree with you. And I'm trying to think back. I mean, The Visitor was the one kind of told from Jake kind of narrates the backstory himself. He's the old man and gets visited. Yeah. I do like that. And that was one of the sadder episodes of this series. And kind of one of those that you kind of think, if you have children, you're like, man, is that the possibility that a child will go through in a situation like this? And the fact that and this was something that didn't happen, right? But it did, right? It didn't, but it did.
It didn't, but it did. Sisko remembers.
Yes, Sisko remembers.
Yeah.
But the fact that he made that the first thing to talk about, it says a lot about Sisko and his character and the way he understands people, but it also says a lot about their relationship. So, and I think based on watching Jake throughout the series, like, I think this was the issue Jake would have been hung on the most after his dad left. So hearing that from his dad first off, I think kind of puts him in a better place to receive the rest.
Yeah, and the fact that Sisko never mentioned it to Jake throughout the rest of the series. I think there may have been a season 4 episode or 5 episode.
Good point.
But he never mentions it to him. But here, in kind of his last foray of video messages and communications with Jake, he's telling him that he's already seen that. So just the fact that he held it, and he uses it here as a pivot point to kind of ingrain in Jake, go on, bro.
Right.
And he's saying, I don't know when I'll be back, but it doesn't mean I can't be in your life. So he sends these video messages, and he wants Jake to move on, man.
I would for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen folks, family members, somebody pass, and they just kind of shut down, when it happens. But yeah, it's always a sad thing.
Oh yeah.
Let's move on to chapter 2. And there's a lot in this chapter, actually.
It is.
And I'm not even sure I know how to frame it. It is the early life of Benjamin Sisko. We have the name of the chapter's family is 2332 through 2338. And it basically tells when Jake's time of birth up until about 4 years old.
Not Jake, but, I guess Jake.
I'm sorry.
Sisko.
Benjamin.
Yes, Benjamin.
Yeah. Benjamin up to the age of 4. And my recommended viewing for this is going to be Image in the Sand. When Benjamin goes back home after events in the season 6, he goes back home to New Orleans, and he kind of works through some things that about his past that he really needs to know. Mm-hmm. Get stabbed in that episode too. It's kind of tragic.
Every time he goes home, there's like a serious issue. I wouldn't want to go home anymore. No. I do like this chapter. It kind of frames up a lot of, again, we're probably going to reference Benjamin Sisko's character a lot through this, because that's kind of what made him the captain that we know and love, right? It was his character above all. But you kind of get a backstory here in chapter 2 of what made him into that person. And I can't help but to think, reading through this, and we're going to get to some of those, it's like this chapter can kind of be a small guide or advice column for a new father, but that it brings a lot to it. And then it also touches on just New Orleans, man. If you're a New Orleans fan,
yeah,
like this is stuff. Not the Saints. We're not talking about the Saints here. We're talking about the actual city, people, Cowboys for life. But yeah, I like the fact that we go through that and we touch on that, and then we kind of touch on the history of New Orleans, and then kind of how, hey, this is the one place Starfleet hadn't touched, Well, not Starfleet, just
the world.
the
It
world.
says one of the last cities where a real restaurant in the world, which is crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with all the stuff he said. One of the things that really draws me to Benjamin Sisko as a character, he and Jake as a combo, is just that relationship they have, that loving relationship, that fatherly example that Benjamin shows to Jake. And we get in this book, in this chapter, like the genesis of that. It's not just him being a good person, a good father, which he is, but it was instilled in him. It was passed down from generations, a sense of family, a sense of belonging. And you can just tell from even the conversations he mentions with his grandparents, just the value of the relationships he had with them and how it kind of got passed down to him. So I just think this is an excellent chapter that kind of shows you, why he is who he is. And even when you go into his birth mother, which, again, he really didn't realize, he didn't realize, he was told by his father in that the episode, the image in the sand, he was told by his father, he had to pry it out of him, this is your real mother. It always takes me back to how much his life was predestined, but that's something I really didn't think about a lot as the show went on, but
right.
This wormhole alien from the future knew that he had to be there, so she went back and had a relationship with his father so he could be born.
Yeah.
Again, timey-wimey stuff that hurts my brain.
And the specific quote is like she's watched him save the prophets and the Bajoran people over and over and over again. Therefore, she knew she had to conceive Benjamin Sisko. Weird, right? Like,
yeah, weird.
Like, brain hurts. I don't understand.
And how it almost left him without a mother when the alien left. The actual person, Sarah, went with Australia until she was killed. So
now, do you think based on how we kind of read this, and you get in this chapter, you get into more of who his mother was, not his biological, but the mother who raised him, Elizabeth. We get into a lot about how that relationship started with his dad. It's almost as if she was predestined to be there, because it was a very unlikely situation that they end up together, and she was a totally different creature than his dad was.
Yeah, from the sense of even the dad saying he didn't want any more relationships. Right. He was kind of through after the tragedy of his first relationship, his first marriage, actually. And, this teacher finds this cook. She liked them, and they wound up being together.
And she wrote him letters, handwritten letters, over and over and over again.
Yeah.
In a time where nobody deals with paper anymore.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's another big thing in this chapter is the Sisko family, and maybe New Orleans more as kind of a whole, kind of resisted technology.
Yeah.
So in the restaurant, they mentioned in the episode about him, was it peeling something, scallops or something?
I don't remember.
Yeah, but everything was old school.
Oh, yeah.
Everything was old school. They didn't take any shortcuts, no replicators, no automation.
I love how they mentioned just like local things doing, like they got their fish from Lake Pontchartrain, right? Like they went out and caught the fish. Like this is real meat. Now where they're getting the cows and all that, I don't know where they're raising beef and chicken and all of that. But I do like that, man. That lets you know there's still somebody grounded in this time.
Yeah. Well, this is like a respite even for us when we, try to go out in the woods to a simpler time to spend a few days, just get away from all the tech and the craziness and the hubbubaloo and all this good stuff over this way. So,
how long you think you can make it without your phone?
Honestly, I could probably go a week at least, I think.
You think?
I think so. If I had books.
Okay.
Wait, do I have internet? Do I still have it?
No internet. I tell people all the time, I'm a country boy. Like I'm good. Put me in the woods, I'm good. But I know. The only reason I know I'm spoiled is two things I'm not going to go without, and that's internet and air conditioning.
Oh, not the two things I thought you mentioned, but
Hey, listen.
maybe guess.
I need to have some kind of air. I cannot sleep when it's hot. I just can't.
Quit being a pansy, man. Quit being a pansy.
I will sleep on the ground in a mud puddle as long as I have something to keep me cool. Anyway, sorry, I keep sidetracking you.
No, you're good. I mean, I don't know how much more we can garner from this chapter. Again, it's mostly just a backstory of his early years, and which mostly entailed, in my opinion, just family. They're trying to instill in us, or he's instilling in Jake that there was a strong family connection in his early years, and he wants Jake to have the same thing.
Well, and then we kind of realize, one thing I didn't know, or maybe I missed it in the series. So he had 3 other siblings, 2 brothers and a sister. And one important thing in this chapter, one cool thing I thought in this chapter was his, was nothing to do with his brothers and sisters, was how his mother came, captain at the time, Uhura, is the one that brought his mother to New Orleans.
Yes.
So, you have strong, and I don't want to make this a race thing, but you have a strong black woman coming to New Orleans to deliver another soon to be strong black woman. It's just, he had this in his being from the beginning. And then I love the nickname Tin Lizzie. Did you catch that? Where she got the nickname? They brought her in her anti-grav stroller looked like a box of mints, or 10 box of mints, however they said it. The Tin Lizzie. I thought that was cool. So they kind of made me think, if it was in a tin box, and it was anti-grav, so were they just making,
maybe it's a makeshift stroller. Yeah.
If you can figure out, if you went and got an anti-grav, you could have just put I don't know. Anyway. Probably not very important.
It made me wonder. I need to go research, because I don't know if this Uhura story is from a book or it's a movie reference I'm missing.
I don't remember.
Talking about the USS Leon the Grants.
Yeah. They say it's killed during so that was it. They were in the first contact mission.
Well, during a first contact mission.
Oh, was it first contact?
Yeah.
I missed that.
Yeah, it said during a first contact
mission.
Okay.
Going
Wrong.
Well, they did capitalize first contact, though.
They did.
Now, was that a Jake error or a real author error?
See, there you go. You get into the meta too much. Jake, since you wrote this book, why did you capitalize first contact?
Did you mean? It's a lot in this, man. I want to go over every piece of it, because there's just highlights throughout here. There was even some parts in it that describes his mom, and I kind of get like a Guinan feel. Yeah,
I got a bit of that. Are you talking about his adopted mom? Or
yes, his adopted mom.
Yeah,
his adopted mom. In all intent and purposes, we don't talk about the other mom throughout the rest of this chapter.
Yeah. And then her just giving him this book of Maya Angelou poems. I thought that was pretty cool.
So I actually learned something from that. I didn't know that. I guess I could have common sense would have told you. It was never made it a point to me. No one ever told me when we learned about Maya Angelou in school, or the name, the meaning of her name. So he mentioned he didn't know much about her, but he knew that her name meant she was an angel. So I kind of did some research on that, and it basically she took her childhood nickname Maya, and which it was this boat captain, I think's last name was Angelou, but it's still Greek for angel.
That's freaking cool.
I love the way she homeschooled them, basically.
Yeah, that was really cool. And the seed of, I think it kind of goes back to this quote at the back of the book about questions and searching constantly. Because his mom, she was always giving him nuggets, read him a story the night before, then ask him questions on it the next day. So he was constantly getting filled with that curiosity of introducing him to something new, and then turn around and prompting him on all the things that he was told and learned.
What stood out to me was those conversations. He's like, one word answers were not allowed in the house. It's full sentences or nothing.
Love it. I love it. I'm going to be using that. Yeah. Definitely going to be using that. Yeah, and the thing with the holographic camera I thought was really cool.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It just kills me how they, well, not kills me, but it's just weird how they said, you know, she went back to the old school film and camera instead of using a hollow recorder. I'm sure she had to replicate some of that.
Well, that's the cool thing about replicators, right? Nothing's ever gone forever, I guess. If the pattern is in the buffer or in the system, if the pattern's in the system, you can replicate it.
Man, it's a lot in this chapter.
Yeah. We also read about how they had a hotel on the restaurant.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the other kids, his other sisters and brothers. I think Benjamin used that to tell Jake about how he wants, or kind of the relationship he wants him to have with. I always thought Cassie had a son, but I guess it was a girl.
I don't know. Did they ever mention a gender?
Maybe they didn't mention a gender, but
I don't
in
think
this
they
book
ever
they
mentioned
mentioned it being a girl. You did read that in the book, though, right?
Yeah, I read that in the book, but I just took it for that.
Me.
I never suspected a boy or a girl. I just knew she was having a baby.
I don't know why I just always assumed a boy.
Because it's Sisko, right? Like, you want it to be a boy that can carry on. But with all of that testosterone, you need a girl to balance it out. I did love the kitchen scene when he was kind of describing how his dad would sit him in the back of the kitchen and gave him the 3 rules. In here, I'm not dad. You answer me as chef.
Yes, chef.
Yes, chef.
Yeah.
You don't touch anything without my permission, and you don't taste anything without my permission. And Sisko says the third one was the hardest one to accomplish. I get it, man. I get it.
You gonna put me on all this good food and I can't touch nothing, bro?
And you take it from me working in the kitchen for a long time. Like that kind of speaks to me how he's wording it and how he's describing this situation. Cause that really is in a kitchen environment when you're busy and there's multiple people and you're all working together to prepare one thing. We always called it organized chaos. Like, we are all moving as one unit, although everybody's doing something different, moving in different directions. There's a clear communication, even though there's not a lot of communication. The leader in that situation is leading, even though he's not actively saying it and speaking it. And you don't have the time to sit down and have a long conversation. You don't have time to sit down and describe a whole situation. It's just things are happening and there's a respect, there's a honor in it. There's a work ethic in it. It's a lot you can be learned. I'm just imagining a child sitting in that environment, watching it days on end, day in, day out, and what he would get from that. And I can imagine just the work ethic and the respect and the organization and the stress tolerance that a child would get from that, I think would be very beneficial.
There's a cool moment when he talks about when his father noticed that maybe one of his cooks or one of his chefs were getting out of line. And he wouldn't, berate them in front of everybody. He just pulled them to the side and talked to them like a man. So he noticed when his father was doing the same thing to him, it made him feel like an adult. He like, my dad is treating me with the same respect. I thought that was really cool.
That is good.
Do you know what the Hugh Biggs pie is?
I have no idea. I was hoping you knew.
I was like, what? Is that a Star Trek thing? Maybe I missed it. So yeah, it's in here. It says, as the story goes, after about a month of different dishes like red beans and rice, po' boys, jambalaya, and even Hugh Biggs pies.
Did you Google it? I didn't Google it.
Yeah, I didn't Google it either. It makes, okay, we're doing it live, guys. We're doing it live. Well, okay, it is a thing.
It's a brand. It's not necessarily a pie.
As seen on today's show.
Oh, of course.
I've literally never heard of this.
So I guess that's kind of like those apple pies you get in the gas station. I mean, that's what it looks like. Like, right? It's in the little pack. Like, you tear the top off and it's like a fried pie inside.
Okay, I'm going to order some of these on Amazon if it's possible. And the next episode, I will have a Hugh Big Pie live. A live taste test.
Live, you.
I'm gonna send one to your house too.
My wife is gonna be like, "What?" She's like, "Really, Jonathan? You're ordering pies on Amazon now?"
But yeah, man, that's what we're going. I guess we can leave it at, man. A lot of good nuggets in there. You know, the family chapter is really meaty. A lot of good stuff in there. Definitely, you should go back and watch the episodes I referenced for those.
Visitor and what we leave behind.
Yeah, I'd say for the introduction, watch What We Left Behind. For chapter 1, watch The Visitor, and for chapter 2, watch Image in the Sand, because that's the one where he goes back to the restaurant in Nowlands.
Image in the Sand was good.
Yeah, it's a good one. Also, that's the episode where Worf is of course feeling down because Jadzia dies. And then at the very end of the episode, Ezra pops up in New Orleans, in Nowlands.
Ezra is, she grows on you. She grows on you. It's not the same. It wasn't Jadzia for sure. And I'm sure Worf felt the same way.
Oh man, Worf gonna kill, he'll kill for sure.
Or Jake. You know, Jake was kind of into Ezra minute.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Oh man.
I do find it shocking how Sisko still, I know this is off subject of the book, but Sisko still kind of felt that same connection with Ezri Dax. And he even says in it, I think the next episode, he calls her old man.
Ah, that's cool. So I think we can do chapter 3 and chapter 4 for the next one. Whoever might be listening and reading along, we'll do chapters 3 and 4 for the next one. If you have any questions, we didn't cover anything, we were totally wrong about something, please write in and let us know. Which you can do that at feedback@discussingtrek.com. And yeah, I guess this is our beta show, and I think it went well. I had fun. I did.
We're gonna figure it out as we go, but it's gonna be good. I got a feeling though, we got so much out of the first 2 chapters. I can't imagine it getting less interesting from here. I'm imagining we're going to have a lot to talk about through that. Hopefully, again, I don't get too sidetracked. It's one of my favorite series, man. So everything you read in this book, if you are a DS9 fan, it's going to bring an episode to mind in which Clarence will give you a reference to the episode.
At least I'll try to. If I remember, I'm sure there's going to be some where I don't know what episode it connects to, and that's where I'm going to need you and anybody listening to help me out.
But you know what's weird, though? Like, for me to be such a fan of the episodic nature of the TNG and Voyager, DS9 was not really episodic. It was an arc. I say all that to say don't there's more than one episode that references a situation. So you're going to have to kind of watch, because I mean, I don't know the names of each episode right offhand, but I mean, there's a couple of different episodes that kind of works out the New Orleans upbringing of Sisko, you know, and we just can't cover it all. I mean, we can't name them all. You'll watch a whole series a whole season before you get it there. But I mean, it's just a lot, man. It's a lot, but we're going to try to guide everybody to a good reference. So you'll know kind of the backstory of what we're talking about, because I'll run on and on about other stuff that's not in the book.
It's already making me want to go back and watch the entire series.
For the 8th
and I don't have time. I should.
Man, just turn it on and leave it in the background. You've watched it enough, you can just kind of pick up where you're missing.
But I can't just watch passively. I'm gonna start watching and then.
Yeah, I get it.
My current season to kind of watch, because I have never watched the animated series. That's what I'm trying to watch now. I'm only 2 episodes. It's just because of time, but I'm planning to finish watching the animated series.
Are you sure it's the time issue?
I'm going to finish, and then I'm gonna circle back to
Lower
Deep Space
Decks.
Nine, I believe. Hey, I'm loving. Hey, man. Hey, I haven't talked to you. Maybe we should take this offline, but I haven't talked to you, man. But the last season of Lower Decks was fire, dude. It was fire. Did you watch it?
No, I did not watch it.
It was fire, dude. No spoilers.
Yeah.
No spoilers. Hey, I wouldn't lead you wrong, bro. I wouldn't lead you wrong. Are there some misses? Okay, we're getting off the subject. Thank you guys for watching, listening. Again, comments, and we'll talk to you guys next time. Bye.